I have 3 true confessions from Reddit that we're going to discuss today. The way I'm going to do this is I'm going to keep them completely anonymous. So I grab screenshots and exclude the names and all that fun stuff. And we just like to discuss the subject matter that is within these confessions, because there's a lot of people out there that have some genuine questions. And there's some people out there that may or may not be trolling us, but this is what this is about. We're going to kind of discuss these things, and maybe if there's some real advice to be given, we're going to give it. But we're going to dig through these. I'm going to read them to you. And the last one of these we're going to go through is especially interesting. And just a hint, there's something about what transpires within the title of this video. All right, well, without further ado, let's jump right in and get to the first confession. This one's titled, I think my mother dislikes me. My mother is in a better place in her life than I was when I was a kid. I'm in my early 20s, struggling financially, and talked to her about moving back in after my current lease goes up. She said no. I suggested putting a tiny house on her property, which would be legal in our area, if her issue was with me living with her. She kept pushing back on the idea with random hypothetical problems until I finally dropped the subject. When I brought up living in my car, she disapproved for safety concerns, but was fine with me parking in her driveway if need be. Not a single issue was brought up when I voiced this potential plan, which is fine. But at the end of the day, it just feels like she'd rather have me homeless than help support me. And I'm trying to pull my life together to find my own place. I just think it's hard seeing other people's parents who are more than happy to support them, and when I turn to my mother, it's like pulling teeth. My dad didn't even mind any of my suggestions, was even for them, but my mother ultimately calls the shots in our house. I'm very frustrated and trying not to let it eat at me or come off as ungrateful. What should I do? Well, the first thing that comes to mind for me is what is your mother's motive, right? So is she trying to push you to be better and figure it out and become a man? If you're in your early 20s, this is the time you need to be doing that. So this is probably where her head's at. And I think you're perceiving this as her not supporting you, which I think is the inverse of what's actually happening here. I think she's helping you more than anything. And I think anybody else in this situation may want to look at it from that perspective. You always have to assume positive intent until you have a reason not to. What are your thoughts about this one? I feel like this is a pretty common issue facing someone in their early 20s. This next confession is an interesting one. I personally had conversations with some friends around subjects like these, so I feel like it's another common one that most of us face, but this is titled, This is Awful of Me, but This is Why I Don't Want Children. I have worked with kids for years, and internally my only reason for not wanting kids was because I didn't want a relationship or kids, because I wanted to go out and travel on my own and have freedom to pick up and go at any time. I totally get that. Now though, I don't want kids for that reason, but also for a very selfish and closed-minded reason. I don't want an autistic kid. I don't want a kid with major behavioral issues. I don't want a kid with some sort of crippling disability. And as I look around at other kids while I'm working, I just keep seeing more and more sensory issues or autism or whatever. And I'm trying my best, but I just can't handle it. I've got a room full of kids, and out of all of them, there's maybe 1 or 2 that doesn't have some sort of something. It's overwhelming, and I hate myself for thinking this way. But I just don't have the patience or the ability to help those kids that need to be helped. I have my own issues. I won't deny that. And because of this, and because of the fact that I lack the amount of patience needed for helping others that way, no child deserves to have me as a parent. I wouldn't wish that on any of them. And I'm trying to be more understanding, and I'm trying my best to work it out, but I just don't have it in me. You don't have to work it out. That's my opinion. I think the most unselfish thing you could do is be self-aware and understand who you are, and that's okay. You know, it's you don't have to have kids. Why? Because society says you should have kids. I think if you're self-aware enough to know that this isn't for me, and you don't think you would be able to provide the support that your kid needs, yeah, by all means, don't be a parent. You can get that through what you're doing by helping other kids and get that satisfaction and that fulfillment with doing the best you can, like you said you're doing, with what you have. But there's no selfishness in what you're doing. That's the way I perceive it. I think what you're doing is very noble. You're self-aware enough to know that you're not going to bring a kid into the world because of the views you have. Let me know what you think about that one, because I don't know. I don't really see an issue. If that's the way that she feels, that's the way she feels. I applaud that she's self-aware enough to be able to think through that consciously. And that leads me to believe that it's not a rash decision. This one is a bit mysterious. It says, I have to poop. And then the title of this one is called I Have to Poop. And then the whole thing just says, I have to poop. So thank you for confessing that. I appreciate it. This last one, I'm not sure if it's a troll or not, but it's super interesting, and I'm going to go through it. This is called My Used Tampon Ended Up in My Crush's Kitchen Cabinet. And I had to kind of pre-read this one just because I was making sure there wasn't anything super explicit in here. But we're good to go. All right. A couple of days ago, she's a female, 21, was hooking up with this guy, male, 21, who I had a crush on for the longest time. We'll call him Darius. Darius isn't his real name, obviously. Darius is very OCD and likes his living space to be in complete order. This particular night was the worst night of my life. It was a literal bloodbath. After we did the deed, I ended up getting my period, and his sheets and blankets were completely soaked. He is squeamish and completely freaked out. He gave me a towel and told me to go take a shower while he handled the mess in the bedroom. When I get out of the shower, things began to snowball. I went to the kitchen to get a cup of water. I was standing in just my towel, trying to reach for the cabinet when suddenly I heard a plop come from somewhere below me. I had just put in a new tampon. I had a spare one in my purse. And to my horror, I saw it staring back at me on the kitchen floor. I could hear Darius hurrying up the staircase after throwing a load into the wash, and he was getting closer. Before he could open the door, I searched around the kitchen quickly to see if there was something I can hide the bloody tampon in. That's when I noticed the Annie's white cheddar mac and cheese box on the counter. There was still half of the shells in there, so I buried it in there and closed it up before he could open the door. Darius asked me why I was poking around the kitchen, and I explained I was looking for a cup. I watched as he picked up the mac and cheese box and shook it around. He explained that he and his roommates each make dinner for themselves one night a week for the rest of the house. His roommate, we'll call him Lennox, only knows how to make mac and cheese, and he makes it every Thursday night. He complained about how messy Lennox was and threw the box back in the cabinet, not realizing the precious cargo inside. I have about 5 days before that tampon is discovered when Lennox cooks again. I don't know if I should confess that the tampon is mine, try and steal the box of mac and cheese before it's Lennox's turn to cook, or if I should gaslight Darius if he questions me. I graduate in a few months, and I'm praying that this never gets out because my life will be over before I finish my senior year. What should I do? Well, I mean, there's two ways you could do this. I think the first way is, just throw the mac and cheese away. That seems like the simple option. And then deal with the repercussions from that, which would be probably easier to deal with than explaining why there's a tampon in the mac and cheese box. Other than that, I mean, I don't know. I'm not a woman. I can definitely try to empathize with how awkward the situation would be for you, but I can't put myself in your shoes on this one because I've never stashed a tampon in a mac and cheese box. Unfortunately, that'd be an awesome story to be able to tell my friends. So I think you can see the humor in this and move on. I don't think it's going to ruin your life one way or the other. And if people find out about this and start feeling a certain way or question you about it, then who cares? I don't know. I don't know how else to say that. Who gives a shit? This is your life. So what should she do? I don't know. You tell me. All right, like I said, I'm keeping these completely anonymous. I'm not including any Reddit handles or anything like that. This is purely for open discussion around some of these confessions. I think they're very interesting, and I think it touches on the humanity of us all to be vulnerable and talk through some of these things that may be impacting us. So I appreciate you all sticking around if you did for this long. I'm hoping to do a couple more of these if you guys like it. And let me know in the feedback in the comments section. And until then, I will talk to you all later. Thanks for watching. Take it easy.